and shared remote delivery certainly can address some of these challenges around location and access. It does require cross-training, expanding scope of practice, mutual recognition of expertise and assessments, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. More importantly, I think, though, co-delivery improves efficiencies and effectiveness. It allows you to have a much more robust problem identification process, because it's one of those things where if you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you've got a screwdriver, everything looks like a Robinson, if you've got a Robertson screwdriver. But sometimes having somebody with a hammer, somebody with a screwdriver, somebody with a plier in the same room means that you figure out that really what you need is a pair of vice grips. And if you don't understand all of those similes or metaphors, I'll be happy to explain them and we can find a context that works for you. But the basic message is if there's 4 or 5 people in the room, you're more likely to actually identify what the real problem is as opposed to just deciding that's a problem that your mandate is to fix. It also is needs assessment and response time. It means that if you've got a hub process and you've got somebody in there happen to be in the space for, say, a housing question, but really what they have is a domestic abuse challenge or a drug problem, or they simply need some additional resources to fill in that application to go into post-secondary. If they're already in the space because they know the housing representative and they've got a trust relationship with it, it's much more easy for that person to take them down the hall and pass them off to the person they really need to talk to. And that introduction matters. It means that that relationship is stronger right from the get-go, and they're more likely to take the advice and the services. That's one of the big benefits of community hubs. The other thing I want to say is don't underestimate the indirect benefits. There's a lot of exercise around assessing hubs based on how much you spend, how many clients you serve, did we get this or that or the other thing. But let's not underestimate an enhanced understanding of who does what. And when I say that, I mean an enhanced understanding not just from your client base, but also from the service providers. You get an enhanced understanding of what, for example, Tiffany does. And I'm using Tiffany because I remember her name. But you know, having us in the room, maybe it's a chance to talk to Emma or Ramadine and figure out what exactly NPI does that can help you with data or data analysis, that kind of thing. But the fact is that it enhances your understanding and your client's understanding of what group does what and how they can help. Clients and staff, line and supervisors. There's many times when your supervisors don't necessarily understand the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. No offense to supervisors, but sometimes it's been a while since you've done the line work and you've gotten away from things, or things in the community have changed, or your supervisors are in, God forbid, Toronto or Timmins or Sudbury or Thunder Bay or somewhere else, and you see them once a year or once a month or once a quarter. It also creates opportunities for professional development. It allows you to learn about what others do. It allows for cross-training, even informal cross-training. And it allows for formal and informal information sharing, best practice, innovation, and problem solving. So you don't have to get together in the gym at Northern College. You can get together over the coffee or the water cooler that's in the reception area for the hub. Talk quickly about a couple of examples because I know I'm running really over time. This is one that I ran into about 15 years ago. It's called the Edmonton City Centre Project. The frustrating thing is its funding was cut, and I do not think it continues to exist. But again, it was a situation where necessity is indeed the mother of invention. They had a declining enrollment and excess space in their schools. They had declining overall budgets. They had growing service demands. They had an itinerant population. A lot of people, both new immigrants and Indigenous population, coming into Edmonton City Centre, staying for a couple months or a couple years and then moving back out again. There were some challenged families, there was kids at risk. The difficulty was that they were having a huge problem identifying that demand and getting to it in time. And so by setting up the City Centre project, what they ended up doing is putting those service providers directly in the schools. So both provincial and federally funded agencies, both arm's length not-for-profits, so Indigenous communities were there, tribal councils, or what we call tribal councils, were there in Edmonton, and many service agencies. So Big Brothers Big Sisters were in the space, literacy organizations. What it ended up being, they were able to put together crisis response teams. And they had 5 or 6 people, 7 or 8 people, depending on the size of the school, sitting in a table. And when a kid was facing difficulties, they were able to identify the root causes and respond very, very quickly. So rather than simply kicking the kid out because they were disrupting the school, they were able to identify those challenges and make sure the resources were allocated quickly. It worked very well. The problem is, of course, with many of those things, change in government, change in administration, change in program ties. And that kind of goes, I'm going to skip past Lepke because I don't want to pick on it too much. It flips to the lessons side. And I think the lessons slide is the most important message, particularly coming out of Edmonton City Centre and some other successful hubs that I can think of here in the north and elsewhere. One is you need to have flexible thinking. Don't constrain the question of who or how or where. So don't get tied up in your mandate or how you've always done things. You have to be flexible. You have to be prepared to identify and redefine your own scope of practice and the scope of practice of others. Flexible funding. For organizations that are looking at delivering this, and this is a message that I sent to Karen when I sit down at their resource committee, which meets on a quarterly basis, they have to have different rules around funding. If they want hubs to function, they can't continue to put the money into the existing silos and constrain the ability of the local service providers to be flexible and responsive. If you want collaboration, you have to allow money for that. And in the north, if you want people to collaborate, you have to allow and set aside money in your budgets for travel and for online consultations. The simple fact is that we can't jump in the bus and go 15 minutes and have a meeting at the next community over. We have to be able to have some resources to do the kind of consultations like we're doing today. And the other point is flexible doing, and I think this blends both for you and for the people who want you to do hubs, which is blend organizational objectives, knowledge, and assets. Recognize that in many cases, you're doing the same thing for a different client base. In many cases, your skills are very complementary. In many cases, there are organizations that can do what you need to do, and you can outsource to them. And I know outsource is an ugly word. If I had a simpler word, I'd use it, but the simple fact is share the load. And don't care who delivers on your mandate. If it's somebody else, it's okay. The key thing is that your mandate's getting delivered and your clients are better off at the end. And that, in a nutshell, is my core messages with I've got one last slide that my communications director, who's hiding away in Sault Ste. Marie, because she didn't want to come to Timiskaming Shores, that's not true. I offered her the opportunity to come, but let's leave her off. But anyway, she insisted that I make a point of highlighting this. If you want to know more about Northern policy, and we don't only just stand around and tell other people how to do their jobs, although that really is our biggest mandate. We tell you how others have succeeded in the roles that you have elsewhere. That's our job, to find the evidence and the support for you. So if you have questions, if you have policy issues, if you have challenges, and you want somebody to have a look to see what others in your circumstances have done, we can do that for you. And so you've got us on Facebook, we're on whatever that picture is. Instagram, there you go. Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course we've got our traditional monthly newsletter, which is less traditional because those summer students that I had came in. And this is a creative example you can use for making your hubs better. I tell you that we run that student placement program. We've run it since our very first year. They came to us in year 2 and told us our newsletter was boring, that no one would read it because it sucks so bad. So instead of getting angry, my answer was, fix it. And so they fixed it, and they think it's great. And so we'd encourage you to subscribe and have a look and see if they're right or not. And by all means, there's a button that you can feedback and suggest other changes. So constantly flexible. So even some of my 780,000 bosses work for me, oddly enough. So thank you for your time. Good luck for the rest of the day, and look forward to hearing some of the conversations.